Welcome to the Black Male Impact. Today we have as guest Mr. Jason Murray. Mr. Murray, welcome to the Black Male Impact.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Cross. It's a pleasure, and I really appreciate having the opportunity to converse with you this evening.
All right, man. Thanks for being here. But before we get into the conversation, as always, the Black Male Impact is about inspiring positive change. And we have Mr. Murray here, who is a financial advisor. And it's great to have him here because one of the things that we want to talk about on the Black Male Impact is how to build wealth and how to manage our money better. So I know he's an expert in the financial service space, and I hope you guys have your pen and paper to get some valuable information so you can apply to your life. Mr. Murray, welcome again to the Black Male Impact. And please share something about yourself before we get into the conversation.
Well, certainly. As you may mention, I'm a financial service entrepreneur, a financial advisor. I've grown an agency, whereas I help train individuals to learn about our business. I help them get licensed in our business, and I help them start their own business in that as they are able to help others, we're able to build together collaboratively. I transitioned from a sales and marketing career. I had a lot of years in sales and marketing in the corporate space, and I worked for a lot of different companies. And my experience in the corporate world taught me a lot of things.
Okay.
It taught me discipline. It taught me how to reach to meet my goals, but more importantly, set goals for myself and not just allow the goals that the company wanted me to meet direct my ability to really be in business.
Okay.
And then I transitioned to be a financial service professional back in, let's say, 2006. 2006, I got recruited to Merrill Lynch in 2006. And at that time, it was a very booming time, but then it changed rapidly in 2007 and 2008. So I was able to overcome that, but I would say this, that my experience at Merrill and then subsequently continuing on in my financial service business, it taught me a lot about perseverance, about resilience, and it taught me about if you have a goal to fulfill in your career, you could potentially be derailed at some point in time. But what are you going to do to bounce back or pivot to continue on in your career?
Okay, man, that's awesome. And on this journey to achieve whatever goals you have for yourself, perseverance is really important because there's no way for those people who have accomplished great success. They got to that point. They reached that point because they persevere. It's not that it happened overnight. To some people, it may look that way because they just see the results, but they haven't realized the journey that some people have to go through or travel on to reach their goal. And that leads to this. I heard that you have different experiences in different organizations, and I've met different people on your journey. So my first question to you is, what is the mindset that it takes to make a positive impact?
Well, I believe you have to be intentional about being positive yourself. In our society, unfortunately, you can get in a position where things are not happening the way you want it to happen. Or if you focus on reading the news and listening to the news, it could get you down.
Okay.
I believe you have to really focus on having that positive attitude about where your life is going and where you want your life to be able to continue moving forward.
Okay.
If you don't, you can be drawn in a different direction that you don't really want to be. So I've had that ability to really just stay, and I like to use this word resilient, because in order to overcome adversity, in order to really stay positive, you have to persevere and have a sense of resiliency, because there's a lot going on, especially when we look at today in our society. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. We
Yes.
just went through a pandemic. From an economic standpoint, there's a lot of uncertainty. So that can get a lot of people down.
Well, and that's true. With all the distractions and some things that we cannot control, and yes, people do have challenges because of what they experience. But as you said, having a positive mindset, having that outlook that things can change, can really help, especially dealing with uncertainty. And as you mentioned when you were introducing yourself, with a change in the company that recruited you, how did you really, outside of persevering, outside of deciding that you're going to be successful, what did you really do when you realized that things are not going as planned?
Well, specifically, when I gave that example, when I got let go at Merrill Lynch, is when the global financial crisis took place.
Okay.
So I hadn't gotten my Series 7, my 66 license in 2007. Then the global financial crisis took place in 2008. A lot of people got let go. So I wasn't alone,
Okay.
right? You had a lot of people who got let go. A lot of people lost their jobs, they lost their homes, and they lost their ability to earn an income. My expenses was about to go up because my youngest daughter, was about to go to college. So I had to kind of figure out, all right, how do I replace my income? How do I keep my house, keep my mortgage, and then still garner an income? So what I did do is I started a health and wellness business,
Okay.
because previously, before coming into financial services, I spent a lot of years in the healthcare industry and pharmaceutical sector. So I started a health and wellness business. I didn't really make enough money in that business to sustain myself. So I learned the Medicare space. I
Okay.
had my life and health insurance license. So I learned how to help seniors navigate making decisions regarding Medicare. So that gave me an ability to pivot, and gave me the ability to utilize a current skill that I had with my insurance license, but then learn a new skill to help seniors, opposed to on the wealth management side when I was at Merrill Lynch, helping individuals build their wealth. So I wasn't as passionate about the Medicare space as I was about financial services. So I spent a little time doing that, but then I eventually resumed back to my career as a financial advisor. And I've been doing that since 2010.
Okay.
So it was a transitionary period,
Yeah.
but I had to think about, well, what can I do in the interim to make ends meet? What can I do in the interim to, again, maintain my mortgage, get prepared for my daughter to go back to school, and be able to continue on with my career?
Just listening to you making the transition when things not going as planned, really shown not just your resilience, but your willingness to adapt to, and it goes back to what you said, having a positive attitude is having that, being willing to adapt when things are not going as planned. And sometimes things will not go as planned. So just having that ability to adapt to change, especially change that we cannot control, is really good, or a good habit, or tool, or characteristic to have as we travel on this journey. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Although you didn't really say adapt to change, but that's what it is really exemplifying, because we all have to deal with challenges that we cannot control as we continue on this journey. As you mentioned, with the pandemic, we didn't have no control
Not at
how
all.
the pandemic was going, and a lot of people had to make adjustments, had to adapt to the change, and maybe find different ways to earn a living so they can sustain their life and their family. So, and being that our focus is really on Black men, were you going to say something?
No, no,
Okay, okay. Yeah, so as the focus is on Black men, so my question to you now is, what advice do you have for the men listening on how they can play a role in creating positive change?
well, I think that's an excellent question. And I believe that we're at a point in our society right now when you take in consideration Black men, unfortunately, we're under siege in a lot of instances, right? What do I mean by that? We're not always portrayed as being positive. We're not always portrayed as being progressive, but yet we are, all right? And we have a situation where institutionalized systems are in place to keep us down,
Yes.
keep us out of the household.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I believe we as Black men, we just have to do a better job to not allow those circumstances that are out of our control cause us to fall into the traps that have been set up for us to fail.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of traps for us to fail because disunity in the household, disunity in our community, then gives the societal pressures or the societal, let's say, policies that are in place, have them win. So we got to have introspection as Black men to understand that we've got to do better. We've got to come together. But more importantly, we've got to focus on being the best that we can be to overcome the adversity that has been placed upon us.
And thanks for sharing that, especially the coming together part. And yes, there are things that are socially constructed that really goes, that doesn't really serve us in the best way. And understanding that there are policies and different things that are created that doesn't really make things better for us. Understanding that no, we have to work maybe twice as hard, although that's been one of the common saying, to not fall in the trap or not be derailed by societal constructions, and to realize that we have to support each other by collaborating and make sure we are not contributing to our own demise based on what is socially constructed, and realize that we have the ability innately, we can do great. And that's what we have to focus on. I was just talking to someone earlier today that we have to do what we can do for ourselves and stop waiting for others to do for us what we can do for ourselves. And once we get into that mindset, although it's not going to be easy for everyone because everyone doesn't have the same social circle, everyone doesn't have the same resources, although we have been people who make something from nothing and achieve great success as a result of tapping into ourself and use what we have to get to where we want to go. And you did that, especially when things change. You use the resources that you have. Whatever knowledge we have to use it. We always have to start where we are with what we have. And that's something that we have to realize the importance of. Even if we don't have all the resources that we need, we have enough to start with
Absolutely.
to get to where we want to go and connect with other people. Because guess what? Whatever I don't know, you may know, and you may have the knowledge that I need. So connecting with you will help me to learn something that I didn't even know that I need to learn.
Right.
And that's one thing as men, as you mentioned, the collaboration piece, I believe that is critical, especially when we're thinking about moving the needle forward or where we go from here.
I definitely concur with that. Brought up some great points. And I feel like if we don't do that, again, we fall into those traps, then powers that be, then they win. And then they continue to widen the opportunities that have been afforded to, say, other groups of people. Whereas we as Black men, we then now don't have the same ability to provide for our families or provide to strengthen our communities. One of the things I wrote in my first book that I wrote was about encouraging our children to become entrepreneurs. And if parents can do that, and specifically dads, it's going to help strengthen our communities through entrepreneurship education,
Yeah.
building multiple streams of income, increasing our leadership skills and platform skills and character building skills within our children. That's huge. That's
yeah.
huge. Thus, we can keep more fathers in the household.
Yes, yes.
Huge, huge.
Yes, and that's right. Help the next generation, the young generation, to develop the skill set and the mindset, and see the importance of entrepreneurship. And you mentioned something before. You said that where you said something about opportunity. We may not have the opportunity or all the opportunities as everyone. And I read somewhere some time ago about the opportunity gap. It's not skill set, it's the opportunity. Because there are a lot of us with the ability to do great, but we don't have the ability. And after I read that, I looked at some of the artists today, like the rappers and some of the athletes who have gone on to do great things outside of sports. So if it wasn't sports, maybe they wouldn't get the opportunity to excel as they did. But not everybody will get the opportunity to be in those spaces so they can garner the money to tap into their greatness. So the opportunity gets smaller and smaller when it comes to us. But I do agree with you in regards to cultivating the mindset, the leadership ability, the characteristics to become successful, being an entrepreneur, and them seeing the value of being an entrepreneur. Because a lot of us grow up in an environment where, man, you need to go to work.
That's right, right, right.
You know,
Absolutely.
man, you need to go to work. If you don't go to work, man, you're not gonna have a life. But we have seen other kids in other ethnic groups have been encouraged to be owners. Then we are working a small percentage for those companies while they become extremely successful and wealthy for generations to come. I do believe that we need to create those opportunities so we can have generational wealth.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point. I mean, we all go to work, and there's different ways that we can work. We can
Yes.
work for someone else and get a W-2. We could be self-employed and be a doctor, a dentist, or a lawyer. All right. Or we could develop a business and then create jobs. And then we can also become investors where our money is working for us in our sleep. So there's different ways we can go about to work
Yeah.
and different ways we can make money. But the key functionality of how we work and how we make money will determine how much money we're able to make and how much we're able to pass down. Because I don't know anyone that can pass down a job to someone else.
Oh
I
no.
do know that you can pass down a business to a family member or to someone that you're in business with. And I do know that you can pass down generational wealth by having your investments materialize and grow through compound interest over a period of time. So it's all relative to how you're looking at work and how to maximize your time as you fulfill your work and develop your career, be it being an employee or being a business owner. I've done both. I've done
That's
both.
right. Yes,
So
sir. Yes,
uh,
sir. But I also heard someone said even when you're working for a company, you should still go there with an entrepreneurial mindset. Because when you are more self-driven, because everyone will not be an entrepreneur, because you may have a passion to teach, you may have
right,
a passion to do something outside of running your own business. But having the entrepreneurial mindset will help you to give more or put your best foot forward, because you're not waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You're more driven internally.
absolutely. Just the words that you just spoke. My third book is about to be released
Oh wow.
shortly. And the book is going to be focused on the mindset
Wow.
and transitioning the mindset, the 7 mindsets to transition to successfully transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of people out there who say, I'm unhappy with my job. I'm
Yes.
not making enough money. I don't enjoy doing what I'm doing. But they have to do it because they have to make ends meet and they feel that they don't have a choice. I disagree. I feel that you do have a choice, but sometimes people don't want to take risks. Now,
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur is not for everyone, but if you are able to take the risk and you're able to prepare yourself systematically to replace your income as when you were working to your entrepreneurial endeavors, that's a better transition to make. So I talk about that in my book. And the steps to becoming an entrepreneur, I've lived it. As I
Okay.
said, I've worked in corporations for 30 years,
Wow. So
3 decades, and I transitioned to become an entrepreneur. So what I've written, I've lived.
and that's a great way to make the connection with those who are struggling to make that transition. And although this is kind of a segue, but I know you may have touched on it a little bit, but how can we, as Black men, help to change the narrative? And you can choose whatever space you want to focus on, but how can we, as Black men, help to change the narrative?
I believe the best way we can help to change the narrative, and it's a delicate subject. When I say a delicate subject, is because I feel like we as Black men, we have to show more respect for our women, and we have to be able to show our women that we want their assistance in partnerships in raising our families. We want their assistance in partnerships in developing businesses. We want their assistance in partnerships with developing community-based organizations or philanthropic types of activities. If we do that and we can come together as Black men and Black women together and show our society that we can work together. It's one thing to say, all right, we need to work together as a people, but I think it has to start with couples.
Yeah.
And, marriage is not for everyone,
Hmm.
but whether you're married or not, you still have to respect the woman that you may be dating.
Yeah.
You still have to respect your ancestors,
Yeah.
respect your elders.
Yep.
It's all about respect. And I believe that that narrative has to be changed. You mentioned rappers earlier in entertainment. I mean, I believe that there are certain rappers that have positive messages.
Hmm.
I think there's certain rappers that don't. All right. The percentage that doesn't or does, that could be debatable.
Yeah.
At the same time, if we want our younger children, our generation coming behind us, to see us in a positive light, they can't see us talking bad about our sisters, our women. They
I
can't
agree.
see that. It's just there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's other ways I think we can change the narrative, and that is just having that sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Having that sense of purpose, understanding our God-given talent, we have to identify it and then enact that God-given talent through our strengths, and don't allow when adversity comes your way, when the going gets tough, that's the time to show the strength. That's not the time to show weakness and then resort to drugs, alcohol, and whatever addictive behaviors that may make you feel better. All right.
Yeah.
What effect does that do to the next person, to the family members, or to the other people in the community that are looking up to you?
Yeah. And just to touch on the points that you have shared, yeah, I too believe family is the key to changing the narrative. We have to support the woman, of course, and we have to come together and to create, because together we'll be stronger. And I know the world knows that, and I can kind of sense the woman knows that too. But society have caused us to have this divide between us, and I believe family will be a key role in us making forward, because as men, we need the woman to behind us. Because I know this saying, it's like we have the dream, we have the desire to make things happen, but we need that support to really solidify the vision and the dream that we have. So it is important as we go on the journey. And as you mentioned, that we need to have a sense of purpose. Having a sense of purpose is critical in changing the narrative. We need to know what we want to do. We need to know what we want to achieve. We need to know what impact we want to make. So I believe having a sense of purpose is really important when we're thinking about changing the narrative. And so those points are really critical as we go forward on our journey. And financial services, I know that's what you do a lot. That's what you've been doing for a long time. So my question to you, what or who inspired or influenced you to pursue that path of financial services?
Wow, I won't say it was one individual, but I guess I would say that it was something that it was ingrained in me early on. So, for example, I was raised by a banker. So,
Okay.
like, my mom, when I saw her raising me and my brother, and I saw her being able to navigate, not necessarily on a very high salary, but yet she was able to make sure that our needs were met and our basic necessities were taken care of. She was able to go on vacations, send us to camp and school. We were never hungry. We were always fed. We always had clothes on our back. So even though she didn't have a great salary, single parent, we were still able to maintain and have our necessities met. Then when I was in college, I took an investment analysis course. And that investment analysis course in my senior year really broadened my horizons to the capital markets. And I got really fascinated about the capital markets, how money works, how the ability for countries to either prosper as a country based on their economy and their policies that they enact, or com- countries that are not able to prosper based on the mistakes that they make, depending on the economic policies they put in place. So that fascination led me towards going to Wall Street right out of college. I didn't get the dream job that I wanted
Hmm.
because they said I didn't have sales experience. But then when I got the sales experience, and then subsequently, eventually, I got recruited to Merrill Lynch, I was able to fulfill my dream job. But I would say more so it was the economy, and it was the ability to say that I can get good at helping others manage their money as I became good at managing my own money and raising my own family as I grew in my profession. And it just became natural for me. So it wasn't necessarily any specific person to lead me in that direction. But I will say this: I do have a very good example in terms of a very, very um, great example in financial history, right? Or business history. And that's Reginald Lewis. And he just actually celebrated the legacy. We just celebrated the legacy of him 30 years, right? Now, this gentleman, Harvard trained lawyer, right? He turned a $60 million investment in McCall Pattern, right? A
Hmm.
sewing company, $60 million investment in McCall Pattern. He turned that investment, to a $983 million leveraged buyout to TLC Beatrice. All right. So that example, I would say anyone, that would be an example for me that said that as a black man, you can amass whatever you set your mind to, be it financially, economically, in the business world. Just an excellent example for me. And I guess from my perspective of then when I became a financial advisor at Merrill, and I was able to see that that career path was a career path that I can succeed in, because when we look at the statistics of financial advisors, only about 10 to 15% of financial advisors succeed
Oh,
because
wow.
the goals are so high.
Mm.
You got to bring in millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, that's that the company that you were working at,
Well, at Merrill, yeah, at
Maryland.
Merrill, had to bring in millions and millions of dollars. The
Wow.
platform that I work with now, it's not the same level of goals and quotas, but you still have to earn your keep, so to speak, and you still
Okay.
have to learn how to facilitate helping clients and assisting clients with managing their money and growing their wealth, planning for retirement, educating their children. So,
Oh, wow. But well, I'll go start with Reginald Lewis. So I came across what he has accomplished maybe around 2018. So he wasn't somebody that I was aware of on the financial literacy part or creating wealth. It wasn't something that I was like really keen to. I know that I want to make more money. I know that I want to change my situation, becoming more financially independent. But when I came across what he have accomplished, man, you can go but being inspired. What he was able to accomplish, man, it's just inspiring, and just learning how he have turned, as you mentioned, what he was able to acquire into greater success. As you mentioned, what's the book that titled "White Man"? White.
white guys have all the fun.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Man, that's in the book in itself is inspiring. As a young black male coming here to the United States, and just to see what others have done, and when you start to learn about the different challenges that black men had, then man, you say, man, he had could create such wealth, man, you can too. And just reading his story, he didn't grow up in an environment where it was easy. He had to work
Right.
his way to financial freedom, or creating wealth. So that's really inspiring. But just having the drive, as you said, it starts with getting exposure from the class that you took whilst you're in college. And I think, at times, what most of us lacked in not having a desire to create certain things or acquire certain wealth is because we haven't been exposed
Right.
to it. Because for you, the college class really gave you a broader vision, broaden your horizon for you to now know what was out there. And if we don't get exposed to what's out there or how it is created, we may not have those aspirations to go after bigger goal, or may not even believe it is possible if we don't meet people who have done it, if we don't learn about it. And sometimes a lot of us don't, because especially in our schools and in the underserved schools, they don't talk a lot about entrepreneurship. And you may not hear about the black people or black men who are doing well. And I say that to say, I have done a lot of presentation in high schools, and I would bring pictures, just pictures, and I would post a rapper, and the students, they all know that person. Then I would post a post, and I recently started using Robert Smith, and I would post Robert Smith. Nobody knows Robert Smith, not even the teachers knows who is Robert Smith. And when I told them that, man, he's one of the richest person here in America, man, they were surprised. So that give the students perspective and understanding that, man, someone out there have created or gained access to more wealth than you even know about.
Imagine.
Yeah, so it's the exposure, I
Exactly.
believe, is really important as we go on this journey. And especially with you have done it. You sharing with others, expose them to what is possible, especially with the book that you're coming out with, the seven mindset to transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur. And I'm looking forward to that book as well, so I can learn some of the things that and have been applying in your life to this point. So,
And then likewise, I know that you've written a number of books. I've
yes.
seen the links, and I definitely congratulate you on all your success and all of the books that you published.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. But I'm always trying to get some more knowledge, man. I tell people that I started late, so
Okay, okay, okay.
I want all the knowledge I can get so I can share it with others, especially people from my community in Jamaica, growing up in poverty and stuff like that. The more I know, the more I'll be able to share with others. So, man, but thank you, though. I appreciate that. And that goes to my next question. What is your perspective on the current climate of Black men in society today?
I would say that we as Black men are progressing.
Okay.
I believe that we are showing society that we can continue reaching our goals despite what has been thrown at us, despite where other, say, ethnic groups may have better opportunities than we are. We're still able to succeed. I do feel, though, that our sisters, all right, are doing a better job in terms of on the entrepreneurial front, because our sisters are now women of color, the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
But the tough part about it, they might be the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs, but they're not always remaining profitable.
Okay.
Right? So that's an Achilles heel for our sisters. But I think for our brothers, our Black men, we we have to do a better job. We have to do a better job of focusing on service in our community. We have to do a better job of maintaining our place in the household.
Yeah.
All right. Keeping the family together. And we also have to do a better job of just being more of a positive role model for our children and for other members of our community, right?
Yeah.
We just have to, because we cannot allow what is taught in the school system to be the sole vehicle to teaching our kids. We can't do that,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Because they're not going to teach our kids what they really need to be taught.
Correct.
Having a competitive advantage, for example, right? When I'm growing up, I'm teaching my kids how to have a competitive advantage. I'm teaching my kids how to become an entrepreneur. I'm teaching my kids like you can win despite the odds.
Yeah.
Never give up. All right. But yet we have certain Black men that give up when the going gets tough. So what does that send a message to their children or to other younger people in the community who may be looking up
Up to
at
them.
them and their actions or their way how they respond to certain situations.
You share a lot of great points or reminders where we need to get stronger from household, communities, and just being that example, that positive example, and which we cannot stress too much. We can say that over and over and over because it needs to be said. Because we can't expect the next generation to be something that we're not showing them.
Right.
We not only tell them what to be, but show them who they can become by being that person. And I came across a quote some time ago that said, "It's easier to become what you see." So we have to be that example. We have to show them by being that example. Whatever we want them to do or achieve, we must challenge ourselves to be that example. And you said something really important that we all need to know and follow. And we can't depend on the school system to teach our kids all that they need to know. And it's important, and as you mentioned, that competitive edge, giving our kids a competitive edge by learning what we need to learn ourselves so we can teach them what will give them an advantage as they go along on their journey.
Right.
So that's a great reminder just from us being a great example in the home, being a great example in our community, and just to lead by example. I think those are really valuable, especially when we are talking about changing the current climate and wanting people to respect us, because it starts, I believe we must respect ourselves.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Very true. Very true.
Yeah, we must respect ourselves. Again, man, we can't tell people, oh, you need to respect me. Man, I'm going to respect me regardless of what you think and regardless of whatever preconceived notion that's out there. I'm going to respect me and I'm going to show up as I respect myself. And I think that is really important as we go along this journey. And the next question that I'm about to ask you, I know you may have answered it already, but I'm still going to ask the question anyway. What change do you want to see in general amongst Black men? I know you talk about be role models in the home, be role models in the community, and lead by example. Anything else that you think as Black men needs to be done so we can create change?
I would say, Dr. Cross, that, and from the standpoint of what I've written in my books, I'm an advocate of entrepreneurial endeavors.
Okay.
And I believe that, again, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but I believe that God has designed us to be more of entrepreneurs versus being employees. All right. And I believe that if more of us Black men can show that ability to take risks, to have that belief in themselves, that they can create jobs and that they can learn to become business owners versus just being employees, it's going to help us narrow the wealth gap. Now, why do I mean narrowing the wealth gap? Because the only way it's going to happen unless we change the mindset of the employee mentality versus the entrepreneurial mentality. If we keep working for someone else, and again, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but if we can shift the paradigm for more people to that area, it's going to allow more of us to be more in control of our destinies, right?
Yeah.
So as we know, when unemployment happens, right, who is the one that's usually on the unemployment line the longest? It's the one who's not a decision maker at the companies.
Correct. Yeah.
So if we're starting more companies, guess what? We could have more of a decision on who's able to stay if the business is not doing as well. But if we're not controlling who's opening and running the companies, then it's out of our control. It's out of our control.
And that's a valid point. I don't remember where I've seen it. It was a YouTube clip, and the guy was talking about what he was saying. It like a Black male, he went for a job but he only had one position, and he didn't get the position. And then the owner said, "Man, the reason why I didn't give you the position because I gotta give my own the position." You know what I'm saying? And he said, "Man, man, you were qualified. I know you do a great job, but I gotta look out for my own." And it really put things in perspective as based on what you just said. It's not to say that he didn't really want to give him the job, but he said, man, it boils down to knowing that the next guy have his family. I know you do too, but I'm going to look out for my own. And he was like, I don't know if it was a real case, but in that setting, being that he even went back and tell him that's the reason why both of you were qualified, and I think you do a great job. But if anything comes up, but that really gives you perspective based on what you just said in regards to if you create it, you can help out in a better way than having to wait for someone, or you may not even get the opportunity just because you don't have a say so in what happened.
I'll give you a perfect example, right? Let's say, right, you have more Black men who have the ability to come together, raise capital, and then are able to create and start sporting leagues.
Yeah.
Right? Now we know in most instances, people of color excel in sports.
Yeah.
Right? But there's only a certain percentage of people who are going to be able to get the job in sports, right? And excel. But if we had more Black people developing sports leagues, right? Then you have more Black athletes who want to excel, be able to work for owners in a particular league that's created by Black people, right? Now, it takes a lot to do it, but if we put our minds to it, we talk to brothers like Robert Smith, have capital, We talked to certain athletes who may have been retired and did well with their money, and we put a campaign together on starting leagues of our own, and then that trend continues to gain momentum. It's a start in the right direction.
I can support that. And because there are so many athletes out there that are great, that because of the limited amount of leagues are currently, it would give some more athletes an opportunity, and then at the same time help others to create wealth, because other people will be employed as a result of creating those other leagues. Just by being owned by us in our community, it helps to close the wealth gap and provide financial opportunities for many others. So I do support creating those kind of opportunities within our communities, because we do have the talent. So why not maximize? And we do have the money out there. We just have to channel and see that it's a possibility to create something that can lead to greater wealth creation. So my next question is, what was a pivotal moment in your life?
I had a number of pivotal moments in my life, but I would say the most profound pivotal moment in my life is when I became a widower early on in life.
Oh, wow.
So at the age of 26, my first wife passed away from cancer.
Oh, wow.
So
Sorry to hear
as
that.
I became a widower and I became a single parent at the age of 26, raising my sons who are 5 and 6, I had to figure it out. Like, I've got to be mom and dad. I've got to go to work. I've got to really show my sons strength, but yet show them that dad needs some help and support
Yeah.
as well. And then I also had to show my sons that I had to balance dual responsibilities. And I had to show them that even though their mom was no longer there, but their mom was still there in spirit. Okay. So all of these things I had to do. And then I was able to do that. And then I eventually got remarried, formed another family, and raised a blended family as a result of getting together with my current wife, who we've been married now for 28 years, going on 29 years.
And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would say that was the most pivotal moment in my lifetime. Whereas being a young person, you feel you're successful, college graduate, things are going in the right direction, and then an illness can derail what you thought was going to be a great life together with a person, and then they're no longer there. But yet now you've got to move on.
Yeah.
You've got to be, again, a strength to your children. And then through family support, I was able to do it. And through my own perseverance and resiliency and mental toughness, I was able to do it. So it was a lot of factors involved with how I was able to come through that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people not able to do those type of things.
Yeah. And again, my condolence to you, but I can say those journey has really prepared you and strengthened you, because a lot of times our experiences are not just for us.
Right.
Our experiences are to help others who may not, although some of those experiences are really tough, we may wonder, man, why do I have to go through this? But I like to, or I think someone told me a long time ago, is because you're strong enough and you're just here to help others to go through that who may not be as strong as you. But those are really great example of inner strength and just maybe just a greater purpose for you. And even in the challenging situation, despite how it goes, those moments, those individuals help to teach us
Right.
some valuable life lessons, so we can utilize as we continue on our journey, and which they still play a role in our journey as we continue living our lives. So thanks for sharing your experience I really appreciate that. Before I ask my no, well, I'm not yet close to my final question, but let me ask this: what life lesson you learn late that you would advise or you think is beneficial to the current generation?
I would say that if you have a desire to do something and you want to fulfill a particular goal, don't take time for granted because time moves so quickly. And if you allow time to pass you by and then you then decide, well, I should have did this years ago, and then it's too late, right? It puts you in a position where sometimes you can't make up that time. So I would say for the younger generations that do the best you can do early on to develop your career. Do the best you can do as early on to understand what you're good at and be able to really master what you're good at. You know, you think about people like Kobe Bryant, an
Mhm.
example, right? Now, you think about people like Kobe Bryant, right? Exceptional basketball player, exceptional. He was just focused on being the best he can be throughout his life.
Yeah,
And then after he stopped playing, unfortunately, he had a tragic accident. So
yeah,
his life was cut short. But think about Kobe. If he hadn't done all he did throughout that lifetime, but yet had that tragic accident, and then maybe he would have felt like, wow, I should have, I could have done more.
yeah.
Now he's in gone and he's in heaven now. But you see the point that I'm making? You
Yes,
can't
yes,
allow time to be wasted.
yes,
You have
yes.
to seize the moment as early on as possible because time does not stand still. That would be the best advice I would give our
Man,
younger
and you know, and
time does
that's
not stand still.
man, and that's valuable even for us right now. The older generation, the ones that's coming behind us, and even us right now, because we'll be saying, "Man, I'm gonna do that thing that I want to do
Right, right.
when I feel more comfortable or when I have more support." But that's a valid reminder, and for us to go on that path to start doing the things that we want to do. Because, man, I've heard some 30 something years old people talking about, man, I've been in this job that I'm doing now for 17 years. I was like, man, 17 years. That
Mhm.
means this person realized what they wanted to do
Right, right.
very early, which is important. And then you point out something that I believe is really important in really tapping into what we want to do is to find what we're good at and be okay with doing that thing. And don't try to do what everybody else you see everyone else is doing. Or just find your thing and dedicate yourself to it. That will eliminate some of the distractions and the time wasting trying to do everything. I believe that is a great point. But before I get to my final question, please share where can the listeners find you, your work, and so they can support what you're doing.
Certainly. So through social media, my tagline is Jason Murray CEO. Jason Murray CEO on all of my social medias on LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as Instagram. Uh, if people wanted to send me an email, abundantnetworkceo@gmail.com. That's abundantnetworkceo@gmail.com. And in terms of the books that I've written on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, as well as my website, my first book, faithpurposelegacy.com. That's faithpurposelegacy.com. Then my second book, Our Stories, Our Voices.com/Jason hyphen Murray. Our Voices, excuse me, Our Stories, Our Voices.com/Jason hyphen Murray.
Man, thanks for sharing that. I will put in the description how they can contact you, mostly through social media. And from there, they can support what you're doing, and because I believe you have a lot of knowledge that can be beneficial to us. And it doesn't matter how much you know. No one knows everything, so you can always learn something from someone. So go ahead and support Jason with the work that he's doing. So my final question is, what impact do you want to have on the world?
Well, the most impact I want to have on the world is that I'm a major advocate for this, and that's the health wealth connection. I'm a
Okay.
big advocate for the health wealth connection. And I want to be able to show the world that you can maintain your health and you can build your wealth simultaneously. If you don't maintain your health, it's going to be difficult for you to build your wealth. If you don't build your wealth, it's going to be difficult for you to maintain your health, because to live a healthy lifestyle, at times it takes more money than purchasing items that cost less, right? Yeah, less healthy items are less costly. I've had health challenges in my life recently, but I've overcome them. And I'm living proof that you can have a health challenge and still live and maintain and keep living and
Yeah.
keep going on and being prosperous. So I know that I can show the world that even though I may have a health challenge, I'm going to still be an advocate of the health wealth connection. I'm going to still show others that you can do the same as well.
Okay. Will that be a part of the seven mindset for making a transition?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do talk about the health wealth connection in my book, and that I'm an advocate of it. And a lot of it also stems from I've had maybe 15, 16 years in the health field, selling in
Okay.
pharmaceutical sales. And
Okay.
then I've been a financial advisor for 10 plus years. So those have been my predominant career paths. But those two career paths have molded me into the business professional that I am. Therefore, I have personal experience
Yeah.
on educating people about health. I have personal experience educating people about finances. And then I talked to you earlier, I became a widow at an early age when my wife passed away from cancer. And then my current wife is a healthcare professional. She's a nurse at Jacoby Hospital, assistant director of pediatrics and OBGYN at Jacoby Hospital. So health and wealth is my life.
That's right. That's right.
I'm an advocate of that.
Man, that's great, and that's important. As you said, maintain your health, because without health, there's no wealth. And if you don't have enough money, you may have to settle to get some things that are unhealthy.
That's right.
So the two works well together, and so I really appreciate you sharing that and reminding us of the importance. So, Mr. Jason Murray, man, I appreciate you being here on the Black Male Impact. You have shared a wealth of knowledge, and I know the listeners will be appreciative of you being here, as our goal is to inspire positive change.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me. It was a great conversation. Thank you
Man,
very much.
thanks for being here, and look forward to future conversation, because we're going to maybe focus solely on maybe wealth creation, or when your book is available, we can have another conversation, because it would be great to share the insight with others.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.